Hello, hello! Welcome back to my channel, Crafty Concepts with Erin. Today I have a scrapbook process video to share with you. I'm going to be using these textured leaves, and these do come with the coordinating thin cuts, and I love leaves. This is one thing I collect and I never get enough of. They're gorgeous. I have these photos of my family, and we were just kind of taking a little family photo shoot, trying to work on a Christmas card, which we ended up not using this one. But I have pulled some papers. I have the wood grain paper for the wood in the background, and then this pattern paper kind of pulls out the colors in my husband and my son's shirt. This is from the current mix-in collection, and then of course the wood papers from the wood grain paper pack. I also pulled some coordinating cardstock. The espresso is there on my desk. I grabbed a sheet of vanilla, and I'm going to pull in a few other fall colors as well. I went ahead and removed the zip strip, and now I'm cutting this down to 11 6/8 square. So there's just going to be a very small margin of the espresso showing all the way around this really pretty glacier colored pattern paper. I did go ahead and gut the inside of this cardstock. I didn't want to waste that. That's a pretty pattern too, but this works better for my layout. And then this is from the Bloom with Grace collection. It's just a leftover piece I have. I've trimmed it down to 11 by 3 inches wide, and then I'm going to bring in this cinnamon colored cardstock. This is a brand new color and it's gorgeous, perfect for fall. I'm going to use it to map my photos. I did print my photos with a white border around them. I do that often. The white just really helps it stand out. And then when we put a darker colored cardstock behind that, it really just helps the photo to pop and really frames it nicely. The square photo I printed at 3 by 3, and the larger photo is 4 by 5.5. I definitely want to incorporate this wood grain paper. It is double-sided, so you can pick whatever pattern or grain of wood you like. And I'm going to just cut up from the center and dovetail one end here, just eyeballing it. And then I'm going to put this across the bottom just so my photos can just rest on it and it sort of anchors everything. So I've cut that down, and then I'm going to overlap the photos just a bit. So I'm pretty happy with the placement of everything, and I'm ready to bring in my embellishments. So again, here's the textured leaf stamp, and then that's with or without the thin cuts. This is the Woodland Friends, so cute. And then from the annual catalog, there are more thin cut leaves, and these are gorgeous. So these are matching with the coordinating with the stamp, and then the other set is just leaves, and I'll show you what those look like here in a moment. I'm laying out several scraps of vanilla cardstock on the back of my VersaMat. There's a nice foam cushion, and it's perfect for stamping. The colors I'm going to be using: pewter, espresso, cinnamon, almond, and glacier. So I'm going to be doing some stamping, and I'm using the rock and roll method. This is really pretty for fall leaves because it just captures that turning of the colors that you see in nature. So you always want to ink it up in the lightest color first, and then you're going to roll just so it gets around the edges, hence the rock and roll terminology, and then stamp that down. So you'll see how pretty this looks, and there's just the color combinations are endless. You can have fun mixing and just coordinating colors and see what you come up with. Just play. So this, I'm using the almond first, and then I will roll it in the cinnamon. The first one was glacier and espresso. You'll see how pretty these color combinations can be. I just love it. You can really get creative with this technique. It works for flowers too. You want to make multicolored flowers, all sorts of things. So I'm stamping this large maple leaf in the cinnamon. They don't all have to be rock and roll. I just love this cinnamon color, so I'm going to do a couple of those. I will be die cutting these out, so you just want to make sure to leave enough room to where you can fit the dies around the stamp without interfering with the one next to it. So for this longer leaf, I'm stamping in the almond color, and then I'm going to go around the edges with the espresso. So we'll see how this one turns out, and ooh, I love it. So here is the copper ore paper. This is gorgeous. It's a super thick paper and it has a shimmery metallic finish. I'm going to take these thin cut leaves and cut this down and run it through my die cutting machine. So I've die cut all the pretty leaves we've created, and now I'm going to add a little gold splatter. This is the gold shimmer brush. It's new, so I'm just getting that color flowing onto my all-purpose mat. I'm going to take another pen and just smack that barrel so we get a gold shimmery splatter all over these leaves. I know it's difficult to appreciate on camera, but you're just going to have to take my word for it. It's super pretty. In the core catalog, I believe there's 24 different colors of these shimmer brushes, so be sure to check out all of the options there. So let's take a look at these leaves we cut out in the copper ore paper. I'll put them against the white background so you can appreciate them a little bit more. You can keep the little center in there or you can pop those out, but you can see how shiny that is. It's perfect for fall leaves, right? So I brought back in my layout and we're ready to embellish. I have this thin cut from the fancy border dies and I've gone ahead and run it through twice. It's 6 inches long, so you can make a full 12 inches if you want. This piece here is about 11 inches and we're going to tuck this under so it's just like a lacy border on the end of this pattern paper. I recommend using liquid glue so you can wiggle it around and make sure it's evenly spaced. And isn't that pretty? I love that finishing detail. So I know I want to create, almost like a floral cluster, but with leaves up here on the left-hand corner above my photo. So I'm just going to start tucking these around to, see how I like the placement and which leaves I want to use. So, we kind of have a rough transition between the leaves and the photo, so I want to add something there to tie that all in. On the Woodland Friends, there's this little fox stamp, and I thought that would be cute. I love foxes. They just kind of remind me of fall, and I thought it would be fun to use on this layout. So I'm going to stamp this little image in espresso on vanilla cardstock. Now this does have a coordinating thin cut, but rather than cut out the fox, I want to make a circular embellishment. So I'm just using one of my circle thin cuts and I'm going to cut him out, and he still needs a little something more. So I thought I would cut out this scallop circle in the espresso and then layer that under my circle, and it fits perfectly. You can see that espresso layer makes a big difference in helping that stand out and just finishing off that leaf cluster. I went ahead and shaded the fox in with the watercolor pencils. And now I want to repeat kind of another leaf cluster on the diagonal down on the lower right-hand corner. You'll notice I put 2 full of those copper ore leaves up in the upper corner, so I'm going to be sure to add one of those elements in this cluster as well to repeat that and balance it out and help draw your eye across the layout. So I'm showing you this word thankful that also comes with the Woodland Friends stamps, and I thought this would be a perfect title. I want to make sure this is going to cut out, so I'm matching it up to the carrier sheet and picking it up with my block, and then this way I know that it's going to line up with a coordinating thin cut perfectly. So making sure I have my foam, again we're using espresso ink and then some vanilla cardstock, and then I want to ink this up really well. It's a solid image, the letters are very solid, so you want to make sure you got plenty of ink on there and good coverage. And then I always recommend holding it down for a moment, let that ink soak in, and then you're going to get a nice crisp image every time. I love having the coordinating dies for sentiments like this. You could use it on a card, and then of course it makes a great title. This photo was taken in November, so the thankful title just seemed like a good choice because I was very thankful for my family. So I feel like there's an awkward space right up here. So I pulled a couple word stickers, what's left over from my Bloom with Grace paper collection, and I'm going to fill those in right there. They say treasuring this moment and forever grateful. I'm ready to start adhering down my embellishments here. I'm using a little bit of foam on the back of this scallop circle, and then we'll pop that up so it sits over all the leaves. I did use the liquid glue to glue down the leaves. And now for this little fox embellishment, I'm going around the edges with espresso ink and my spongy inking tool, and that's just going to give it a very subtle finish and just give it a nice clean look. So again, we're doing another layer of the foam tape. So we'll have multi-dimensional layers here. And then put this guy right in the center. And then I went ahead and tied a couple bows. I have a small bow here. This is just some jute twine that I have on hand from the hardware store. I've secured those with glue dots, and I thought I would use dimensional foam on the back of my sentiment or my title, but then I thought, no, wait, I'm going to cut out several more layers with that thin cut and then just glue them all together. And again, using the liquid glue, this makes it super easy to line it up. So I end up having like 4 layers thick by the time I'm done, and it just really gives a nice finished look to this sentiment. And then you don't have to worry about getting dimensional foam tape on the tiny spots of this title, because all of it will be uniformly lifted up since we layered those 4 layers of cardstock together. I've got my title all tacked down securely in place, and this page is done. Look at the shimmer in those leaves. So pretty, and I love this color palette and the way this came together. Be sure to check the description box below for all the details. Here's a few more videos that you might enjoy. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.